very much. And Dr. Mulligan, I want to appreciate your testimony today. You have a really important job. I mean, I'm listening to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, and man, it sounds like you have the most important job for small businesses in the government. Like, your job is to be the massive advocate. Can you tell me a little bit about your predecessor in your position? Since this is such an important job under the Trump administration, and everybody on my Democratic colleagues recognize the fact that this is such an important job, that small businesses have this advocate voice. Can you tell me about your predecessor?
Thank you for your question. We have an empty chair right here. That's what it was for 9 years. President Biden didn't even bother to nominate somebody for this. I think it's an important job. I enjoy doing it, and I'm blessed that President Trump asked me to do this job.
Well, I recognize that, and I recognize that we've finally, realized that we need to have a voice for our small businesses, because it seems like during the 4 years of the Biden administration, they got absolutely crushed. How many additional regulations did you say that the Biden administration put on our small businesses?
If we just count the final rules that were published in the Federal Register, it's 12,025.
12,020 4 years. And what was the cost of all those?
I mean, there's so many, it's a little bit hard to say, but my best estimate is for the entire economy, $6 trillion with a T.
Wow. Okay, and that crushed small businesses, right? Because they're at a disadvantage when you're looking at corporations, because corporations actually can have like an entire regulatory agency or an entire regulatory department, a division. Small businesses don't have that. So they're relying on folks like you to be able to say, look, when we have these regulations that we think are little that are coming out of these agencies, this can crush us. I mean, it's averaging, what was that, $50,000 an employee is what the small businesses were having to pay in addition to during the Biden administration. It is absolutely astonishing to me that after the previous four years of that administration, that we are finally having advocacy from our Democrat colleagues for small businesses. The $1.8 trillion that they added. We're hearing about tariffs and crushing the economy. I'm sorry, what was the GDP growth last quarter?
Thank you for your question. I believe it was 4.3% annualized rate.
Wow. Okay. And we finally have wages now that are outgrowing inflation, right? So this is great for our small businesses. And the unemployment that they were talking about, what sector was that unemployment in, the increase in unemployment? It's the public sector, right? It was government jobs, right, that we had lost. But in the private sector, didn't we see an increase? Didn't we see more small businesses hiring?
Yes, that's correct. I mean, one very important statistics that we're seeing is new business applications. They were skyrocketing in 2025 to historic levels. We've never seen something like that. A lot of people say, including the previous administration, that those sort of applications, employer identification number applications, are quite an important predictor of future employment growth.
So it seems like this administration actually gets it, that we're helping on the tariff side to make sure that our small businesses are able to compete globally, that we're helping them on the tax side with the One Big Beautiful Bill and the 199A on pass-through, recognizing that we want them to be able to compete with corporations. And then I actually have a bill that was passed off the House floor. It's the H.R. 2965, the Small Business Reduction Act of 2025. And basically what that says, it's a bill that any new rulemaking by the SBA is at no cost to small businesses. Now, it's not saying that you can't have additional regulations as necessary as needed, but what it does say is you're going to have to cut some that are duplicative, that are unnecessary, that don't even reflect the intent of the law. Can I ask you how we can make that permanent, that we can actually codify the decrease in regulations on small businesses, and how do we create like a systemic culture of regulatory discipline where agencies will have to review with regulatory scrutiny?
Yeah, thank you for your question. Just a few seconds we have left. I think regulatory budgeting is worth looking at. President Trump did that in the first term, EO 13771, and he's doing it again in this term. That's something that could be in the statute that Congress could be involved with, not just setting the money budget, but also setting the regulatory budget.
Okay, fantastic. I appreciate that. What has your office, in like the 10 seconds that you've got, what would you say are the top 3 things that you've gotten accomplished since you've been here?
I think this being a part of the regulatory agendas, saying what rules we're going to add and subtract and reform, that is huge. And very, very gratified that so many agencies have asked for our input.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for what you do, and appreciate your testimony here today.